Welcome back, everyone. We have some breaking news for you on a Friday, and for once, it's good news. At least we think it is. So for those who are new, my name is Mike, and today we're going to be talking about what just happened at the Supreme Court today, and then eventually what will happen at the Supreme Court probably in the near future. So for folks that don't know, bump stocks were banned by President Trump, even though I guess legally that's not what actually happened, but functionally that is what happened in 2018. That was following the Parkland shooting, the Parkland school shooting. Now, in no way were bump stocks involved in that at all. Nobody even alleges that, but there was a sense that they had to do something. And what they did was President Trump directed the ATF director at the time, of course part of the executive branch, to extend the statutory definition of what a machine gun is to include bump stocks. So for those who are new here, what is a bump stock? So a bump stock is a device that allowed you to bump fire certain types of firearms. The most common ones at the time were AR-15s and AKs, but there were other types as well. And what it did was allow you to, just like you can bump fire from with like a Band-Aid, or you can bump fire with, Band-Aid, bump fire with a rubber band, or you can bump fire from your hip, or you can bump fire from your shoulder. What you're doing when you're bump firing is essentially you're pushing forward on the gun while keeping your trigger finger in the same spot, meaning that the trigger itself goes forward, hits your finger, i.e. bump, hits your finger, and then fires. So what these devices would do is they would enable you to do that more easily. That's it. It didn't change how the actual gun was functioning. Every time you pulled the trigger, you actually pulled the trigger a single time for a single function of the gun, meaning one bullet went out for every time you pulled the trigger. And in no way do they meet the definition of what a machine gun is. If you don't know, what I just said there, the opposite of that is what a machine gun is under federal law, meaning that for every function of the trigger, more than one round goes out of the barrel. That is the way the ATF, well, not the ATF, but the Congress defined what a machine gun is. And they were very specific in that language. And Trump, President Trump ordered his director to use statutory regulations to extend that definition into the bump stocks. And so bump stocks were effectively banned in 2018. And what happened next was a bunch of different lawsuits came in. Now, the one that is very important to this case is the Cargill lawsuit, which has gone back and forth to many circuit courts in the Fifth Circuit. But the thing that was key to it, and the thing that was key to it getting picked up by the Supreme Court, is that in the Fifth Circuit recently, probably 2 or 3 months ago now, they got what is called the final judgment in legal terms, meaning that essentially, if you know, the Supreme Court doesn't take it, there's no one else that will. And that's the point that they were at. And the Supreme Court, as of today, decided to grant cert, i.e. they're going to hear this case. And they're going to, in my opinion, very, very likely strike down this ban and do it in a way that isn't based on the Second Amendment. But I suppose before we get into that, let's thank the sponsor of today's video and then come right back. Before continuing on, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, and that is American Hartford Gold. Anybody who's watched the channel knows that I am not a huge fan of fiat currency, and that is an understatement. There's a plethora of reasons why that might be. Constant inflation, banks failing, the government threatening to bring about a digital currency. And as firearms owners know, you cannot count on the government for your protection. Our friends at American Hartford Gold can help you diversify your portfolio from just fiat-based currency to physical gold and silver, so that way you diversify that risk across the board. American Hartford Gold has thousands of 5-star ratings and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Plus, they support content like this, which certainly is not the case with all companies, as many of you know. When you reach out to them now, they will give you up to $5,000 in free gold or silver. And you can let them know that I sent you by texting code GEAR to the number here on your screen, or giving them a call at 866-856-2097. Again, that is 866-856-2097, or text GEAR to 65532. Now back to the video. So as I was just intimating, this probably will not be struck down on Second Amendment grounds. It might be, but it probably won't be. For those that don't know, there was a recent case, the EPA, that the Supreme Court ruled on. And essentially what they did is they told the Supreme Court they didn't have the ability to extend statutory regulations to certain areas. And what they're really doing there is telling executive agencies, i.e. branches of the government controlled by the president, that you can't write law, that Congress has to write law, and you can't just interpret things to mean things that have the function of law. So in this case with bump stocks, for example, right now, well, since the ban has gone into effect, if you were caught with a bump stock, then you could be prosecuted as a felon in possession of machine gun, multi-year felony, huge fines, lots of time in prison, and no Congress member ever voted on that. No president ever signed that into law. So that is very likely what the Supreme Court is going to use to strike this down. Now, if they want to also make it a Second Amendment case, they can do that as well. And the reason for that is the recent Brewing decision. And I have a whole video on it if you guys want to check it out if you're new here. But the Brewing decision is like 70 pages. And basically what you need to know about it is if any law pertaining to firearms doesn't fit with the text, history, and tradition of the Second Amendment as it was written in 1791, or it's not in alignment with it at that point in time in 1791, then it is de facto unconstitutional. It is not a constitutional law because the Second Amendment is very clear in what it says and when they said it. So that is the way that they could strike it down on the Second Amendment rules. I don't think they will. I think they're going to do it under the EPA guidance to say that executive agencies can't make law. And that brings us to the next logical point in this video. Yes, this will go on to serve as precedent for future cases that are coming up through the lower courts that we talk about here on the channel quite frequently. Some of those that I made some notes here. Some of those that come off the top of my head were parts kits. A lot of states have different parts kits limitations on what you can buy, and a lot of that came from the ATF. And then they have frame and receiver rules, which was 100% the ATF, saying that they could redefine what a frame and receiver of a firearm is. Again, Congress passed a law. It was signed by a president defining what a frame and receiver is. The ATF has tried to redefine that over the last few years. This will be used as precedent in those cases going forward. Additionally, one that probably most of you are concerned with is going to be pistol braces. The ATF, again, has tried to extend statutory definitions of what a rifle is, a short barrel rifle, to apply to braced pistols, which in no way do they have the ability to do so. Again, no Congress passed a law on it. No president signed that law into law. Additionally, FRTs are forced reset triggers. Very similarly, in the way that bump stocks don't allow for a device to fire as a machine gun for the exact same reasons that I just talked about earlier in the video, forced reset triggers do not as well. So this case, once it is finalized, and I do believe, you can never, don't count your chickens before they hatch kind of thing. You can never say that the Supreme Court is 100% going to rule on this one, but even if one of the squish conservative judges goes, against it, it's still going to be a 5-4. I do not see any way, provided the Supreme Court makeup is the same as it is currently when this case is heard, that they will not get smacked down on this one. They will get smacked down hard. And essentially what I believe will happen is that the Supreme Court rightfully will tell the ATF that they lack the authority to redefine what a machine gun is under their statutory authority that they are claiming in this case. And I think it's very clear based on recent rulings that that will be the outcome. So I suppose that's all I have for you for today's video. Again, good news on a Friday evening. I definitely dig it. So if you guys like this type of video and you're not subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Unfortunately, we do these types of videos all the time because they never stop coming for our rights. Additionally, if you're not following me on all my social media sites that you see here on your screen, definitely recommend you do. That's where we break news before we can come out here and do full YouTube breakdowns. It's a lot easier to just post something up, let everybody know what's going on as fast as possible. We also post deals, good deals to guns, ammo, optics, etc. on those social media sites. Speaking of that, if you like good deals, we have a daily deals email that goes out every day, as the name indicates. If the item is in that email, it's the cheapest I know of anywhere on the internet on that particular day because I've done the price comparisons for you. Also contains a good meme, which a lot of people like. Generally, a little bit of mildly offensive meme, but pertaining to gun rights. So a lot of folks do like that as well. And then if you've subscribed here on the channel, thank you, first off, and you've hit the notification bell and you're not seeing 2 to 4 videos a week here on the channel, you are being censored by an algorithm, your eyes are. So a way to overcome that is to sign up for my email at the website here on your screen. This goes out once a month. It's not super spammy, and it just has all of the videos since the previous month's email went out. So that way you guys don't miss any of my content. It goes straight from me to you, and no algorithm can stop it. So that's it, guys. It is good news today, and hopefully we have more good news going forward. But regardless, thank you all for watching, and I look forward to seeing all of you in the next video.